Hello there. Yes, it is a matter-of-fact truth in regard to the title. I am outside in my backyard. I am touching grass at the moment, and I am going to be talking about horror movies which genuinely scare me personally. These are horror movies which have actually made me have trouble sleeping at night, which is rare to do, but that is an accomplishment. And sometimes that doesn't even speak to the quality of the movie itself, just qualifies to how scary I find the concept, how scary I find how well it's shot or whatever, or maybe even how scary I find the actual villain itself. So, without further ado, let's talk about the scariest horror movies that I've seen so far, in my opinion. And by the way, I am the Horrorlander, who is your number one favorite horror hero. I talk about all forms of horror media, whether it be movies, books, comic books, short stories, you name it. So, if you happen to like that type of content, I would suggest that you go down below, you hit that subscribe button, and you hit that like button. I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes right now, so if we could boost up the community and then get some engagement, that'd be very much appreciated. And also, you should do those things that I mentioned, because I can also make a part 2 to this video. That would be like the scariest books that I've ever read. And for all of you Goosebumps fans or kids horror fans, I could even do one that's about the scariest kids horror, which is important because kids horror is usually pretty tame. But we're talking about horror movies in this one, and you have to understand a little bit about something in regards to my taste in horror. You see, I, as a kid, was a giant scaredy cat. Pretty much everything used to scare me as a kid. And then I got older, and I realized that now I've become accustomed to horror. There's not really much things that I genuinely find scary. When I'm watching a movie or I'm reading a book, oftentimes I won't have a physical reaction like, oh shit, I'm fucking scared right now. I don't do that. I'll be reading it and I become so, I don't know how you say, monotone or non-responsive, that I'll literally be reading a book and go, this is pretty scary. You know, this is technically very scary. I go that way. I just go like, yo, I know what scary is because I've seen a lot of scary stuff. So I just go, yeah, this is scary. Yeah, it's scary. Like some technical judge on fucking Horror Got Talent. You know, fucking fuck America's Got Talent. Here's Horror Got Talent. That should be, you know what? I'm going to make that into a series. I'm going to make a series called Horror Got Talent. There you go. That's what I'm going to do. But either way, now there are a few movies out there that have caused an actual primal response of fear from me, and I won't lie, they've actually made me have a hard time sleeping at night. So let's talk about some of those. The first one actually deals with a subgenre of horror that, when it's well done, these movies always scare me and freak me out, and that is found footage horror movies. Now, of course, this doesn't always speak to the quality of the movie. Sometimes it just speaks to how much it unnerves me. Found footage horror movies, I've actually been pretty lucky that I got to experience some really scary ones, and there's some even more terrifying ones that I probably still haven't got the chance to check out yet. But some of the ones that genuinely scared me was Grave Encounters, the very first Grave Encounters movie. This movie dealt with a film crew who was kind of shooting like a, you know, paranormal investigators type of TV show, and they all broke into this abandoned mental asylum, like a hospital, and it was said to be haunted. So at first, nothing really much happens the night that they're inside of there, and then as the night continues, oh my god, some horrific stuff happens, where they try getting out of this asylum, and, you know, windows will creak open, doors will slam shut, and then they will go to like a sign that says emergency exit, and they'll they'll push on the emergency exit sign, try to kick it down, and when they do that, it goes to like a blank wall, a literal blank wall. So the door, the exit that's supposed to be there for the emergency exit, doesn't exist. Then they'll go to the next emergency exit, and then they'll try ramming into the door, and when they break it down, next thing you know, it's a endless hallway of just dark corridors. Horrific ass shit, because that lets you know that whatever paranormal force is in this asylum is manipulating the environment and setting, so you're trapped. So if you have the fear of getting trapped somewhere and having no way out, which I do, like, yo, getting buried alive and shit, that shit genuinely scares me. That is the type of thing. You know, if you got claustrophobia, if you got the fear of being trapped, that's in that movie. And then some real freaky shit starts happening. You see these demonic looking beings and entities dressed up as mental asylum patients. There's actually a famous internet image of a woman who's like looking at the camera, and this has been around on the internet. If you watch like Mr. Nightmare videos or top 10s, you'll see this one, where she looks at the camera and then her eyes go white and she's got this like wide open, insanely wide open black chasm of a mouth. So that's from this movie. And there's a scene involving a bathtub of blood that somebody gets dragged into by this mental asylum demon thing. So it's all very, very insane things. And there's even more crazier shit that happens in the movie that I would suggest you watch. Because if you actually see this movie, I think you will genuinely get scared. I think you will genuinely have a little bit of a hard time sleeping at night because it's going to get under your nerves. And I know me personally, after I saw this movie, I can't lie, bro, you know, going to grab a late night snack wasn't the same because, you know, I got dark corridors, I got dark hallways, I got a dark living room, and I can't turn on the lights fast enough. So, yeah, this is a very scary movie. And there's other found footage horror stuff that scared me. I've seen the very first VHS movie, and that one had two segments in it that genuinely scared me. The first one was the succubus segment because it deals with these guys bringing home a succubus, which is like a sexual female demon. And when she starts to transform and attack them, and there's some scary ass scenes. The scariest scene that genuinely got me in that movie was the main character falls down a staircase as he's trying to exit his apartment building or motel or whatever. And she is peering around the corner with her crazy face, and the actress who plays her with the makeup looks like the fucking Momo picture. Have you seen the Momo picture? This is Momo before Momo, and it's a succubus, so it's an actual threat. She's peering around the staircase looking at him with just her face. She's got those wide fucking eyes and that grin, and I was like, yo, that shit was scary. And then there's a jump scare. Then she like fucking sonic speeds towards him, and then when he looks back, he's like, well, he does that, but that's also what you do. That's what you're supposed to react. Because when you see this terrifying looking bitch peering over the staircase like something out of The Grudge, and then she fucking Goku instant transmissions over to you, you fucking, you do that shit too. It's scary. There's a haunted house segment in VHS 1 towards the end about these dudes who like break into a house on Halloween because they think there's a Halloween party there. Turns out it's some cult sacrifice shit. And then the house may be haunted, and there is so many horrific scenes in there. There's a scene about them trying to leave the house with the victim who was the sacrifice, and there's these hands that are reaching through the wall of like wallpaper and stuff and trying to grab them and drag them to God knows where. That shit was horrific. That shit was scary as hell. The special effect itself would have looked pretty poor because, you know, if you shot it in a normal movie, it probably would have looked pretty bad. But with the found footage quality, it actually makes it very eerie and very scary. So if you have a low budget, you know, found footage horror movies is an easy way to basically still scare the audience. And there's other VHS segments out there like the cult segment. There's a cult segment in VHS 2, which is absolutely horrific and scary as fuck. One of the scariest things, one of the best and scariest things I've ever seen. But you can check that out in my VHS 2 movie review video, which is on my channel. You go on the VHS playlist, you can check out some of the things I've said about the VHS movies. VHS 99, I just made on a video called my best found footage horror movie that I've seen. That one has some scary segments, such as the main scariest segment, which was a girl who did a suicide bid to join a sorority in college, and she has to get hazed, and the way she gets hazed is she has to be buried alive. Yeah, she has to get buried alive. They give her a box of tarantulas, so she gets stuck in there with spiders 6 feet under, and then it starts storming outside, kind of like how the sky looks right now. It starts storming outside, and then the people who buried her, who are basically like her other fellow sisters, soon to become, essentially run away, and she gets stuck down there while this wet mud starts piling up and breaking the lid of the coffin because it's a weak-ass, bitch-ass, bootleg coffin. They ordered a coffin off of Temu, and this Temu coffin is not holding up the standard quality test, and it starts breaking. And they told her this urban legend about a girl 20 years ago who took the same challenge, and she was left in the box for a week. And when they finally remembered to get her and they came back, they dug up the coffin and saw that she wasn't in there. No, in fact, the back of the coffin was broken and ripped out, like something was trying to rip through there. And the urban legend went that the girl dug her way down to hell. Yeah, so they tell the girl in this segment not to knock, not to make noise, because if you do, yo, that ghoul girl, that ghoulish bitch is gonna dig her way back from hell and be like, uh-oh, I see you, and that shit happens. And it's horrific. It is scary as all fuck. And the ending to this segment, that genuinely unnerved me. So found footage horror movies that are good out there, they work really well. They are very, very good. And the second type of horror movie that genuinely scares me is stuff that can actually happen to us in the real world. Now, I'm not talking about over-the-top slashers that could technically happen, but they're so over-the-top that it's like, yeah, 99% of the time it's not going to happen. But there's certain horror movies out there that is like genuinely that they could happen. One of them was The Strangers. The Strangers, I thought, was a pretty good movie. Story is pretty basic. Acting was okay. It had some weird decisions made by characters in there. But without a doubt, the way that it's done and the concepts are actually scary. Home invasion is one of the scariest things that I think could happen to anybody. And especially for me, home invasions really get under my nerves. Because when I was a kid, I stumbled upon a YouTube channel that is still one of my favorite YouTube channels nowadays for horror, which is Mr. Nightmare. Mr. Nightmare is one of the scariest horror channels in my opinion. Now, of course, not all the stories are true. You know, they're claimed to be true by the people who write them. Probably like 80% of them, 90% of them are fake. But they're very realistic sounding and they get under my nerves. And especially the ones that used to scare me the most were the Home Alone, home invasion stories. Because my dumbass, as a elementary kid, used to watch those videos when I was home alone. I was literally in like elementary or the beginning of middle school. It might have been the beginning of middle school. Yeah, I think it was the beginning of middle school that I was watching these videos, and I would be home alone like a dumbass, and my mom's not gonna be home for like fucking 4 or 5 hours. I'm literally home alone and I'm watching this shit, and every little noise I hear inside of the house starts making me paranoid. I used to watch the videos with like kitchen knives next to me because I was like a bitch. I was paranoid as fuck about it, especially the Home Alone stories, because they're talking about, yo, this dude hears mysterious sounds in the crawl space, and then he goes to the crawl space and, you know, he's sleeping in his bed, and the next thing you know, the crawl space door pushes open and some deranged looking psycho homeless dude comes out. Yeah, that shit's gonna fucking scare me. Or somebody under your bed and shit, stuff like that. So that used to scare me a lot. So when I saw The Strangers, the original Strangers movie, I was like, yo, this is actually making me uncomfortable, because the killers in the movie are so meticulous. They are so psychotic and, you know, sociopaths that they do little shit to fuck with the characters. They'll move their phone like a foot. They'll do certain things that makes you think you're starting to go crazy, which is something that would happen if you had a home invasion or someone living in your house. Certain shit happens in your house that you notice is off guard, especially if you live alone. You notice that, did I put that there? You know, is something off with the living room? Like, you're gonna pick up on certain things that you won't be able to pinpoint what exactly is wrong, but you can sense something is off. And humans have this ability that if you're in danger or somebody is watching you or something is, you know, in your presence, basically all the hair on the back of your head stands up. Like, you have this ability to just sense when you're being watched and tracked. So if I was in the Strangers movie, I would be fucking having goosebumps all over, bro. I'd be terrified. And honest to God, I don't really know what I would do. I mean, the dude was camping out with a shotgun. That's a smart thing to do. But in reality, when this shit starts happening to you, depending on the layout of your house, depending on if you have a weapon with you or not, there might not be that many options for you to do. So The Strangers is probably one of the scariest, just because that shit could happen to us. Now, I hope it never happens to any of us, especially me. Knock on wood. I'm gonna knock on wood right there. But it works for that reason. And there's some other horror movies that I'm very interested to check out that are very horrific, and, you know, they could possibly happen to people, and there's really nothing you can do about it in those situations. I think one is called Gerald's Game. I think it's Gerald's Game by Stephen King. I know there's a movie about a woman getting chained up to a bed by this psychopath dude, and he ends up having a heart attack and dies, so she's trapped there. And this freaky dude, who turns out to be a real person, visits her every night, which is horrific, dude. Being chained up to your bed with no weapons, and this fucking dude is breaking into your house and staring at you, and you don't know what he's gonna do to you. That's some horrific ass, real life horror. And there was a movie that came out that was called like Unstocked, or it was something about a woman being stalked by this dude. And I heard that movie was horrific because it was very like it was crazy, but it was like talking about the lengths that stalkers go to come after you. And even after she, I think, kills the dude, she still has PTSD that he's out to get her, which is very scary. And I think there is a movie out there that I forgot what it was called. Was it Unfriended? No, it's not Unfriended. I don't know. There's a movie out there. I think it might be a found footage movie I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's a dude wearing a wolf mask, like in front of a door in a cabin. I don't know if you guys know that movie. I know, bro, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know what it is. But I heard that's also a realistic, very creepy movie. But yeah, it's like a dude who's wearing like a wolf mask, and he's in front of this door. And it's like a famous horror movie. It's on Foundflix channel. Foundflix and probably Dead Meat have done videos on it. But yeah, dude in a wolf mask that's like posted up. I think it's like he's in like a cabin in the woods or whatever. I don't know. But those type of movies, the shit that can actually happen to you, that's also very scary. So those are my opinions. What are the scariest horror movies to me? Either really good found footage stuff that genuinely unnerves me, or real life horror that genuinely unnerves me because it could happen to me, unfortunately. It could happen to you watching, unfortunately. Not that I hope it happens, but there's always that variable factor. And it kind of makes you a little bit paranoid, especially after you watch it. So those are my picks for the scariest horror movies that I've seen. Again, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button down below and hit that like button, and also share the video around. And by doing that, if enough of you guys like the video, if enough of you guys subscribe, if enough of you guys share, please, I will make a part 2 video talking about the scariest horror books that I've ever read. And then I can do something like scariest kids horror that I've experienced. So there's potential sequels for this video. So again, show your love by subscribing, liking, and sharing. That'll be my way to know that you guys really are engaged with this. You guys like this. You guys want to see more. And that's all I got for today. Once again, I am the Horrorlander, your #1 favorite horror hero. I am the all-American superstar from India. Not really, but shout out to all my Indian buddies and sisters. And yeah, if you like horror, you should click down below on my channel, because I've reviewed a lot of books so far. I've reviewed a lot of movies. I've reviewed comic strips. I've reviewed short stories. So if you want to check out cool stuff, it's all down there. And I'm going to keep coming out with content. Unfortunately, I only got 1 month left to essentially record as many videos as I can. And even still, I'm pretty busy with college, but I'm gonna find time to make content for you guys. I'm trying to slow down a bit. I'm trying to just pump out more stuff that I find quality than trying to meet a quantity metric. I think quality is better for you guys. Just me trying to thought out my ideas and make better videos. So yeah, stay tuned. Once again, stay cool, stay classy. And this video was brought to you by Brought Studios, aka Brokebot Studios. So yeah, the boys, do not sue me. I'm not the boy, but I'm a lad. I'm a real lad.